It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. So said Confucius, the Chinese sage and philosopher who lived roughly between 551 and 479 BC. Hi, I'm Charles. I'm a psychiatrist with a special interest in diets that help your heart and general health and which are also good for the planet.
And hi, I'm Sinead. I work in health research now, and I'm also very interested in diets that are good for us and also help reduce the impacts of the climate emergency. So last week we were talking about the animal agriculture, and we were saying that we talk about slaughterhouses this week. But before we get into that, I want to talk about a bit about.
There's one other thing. Sorry to
interrupt
no
problem.
You, but one other thing we should perhaps just mention is that we're talking about animal agriculture and at this time, these few episodes. But the other thrust of our podcast is for health, for your heart.
Absolutely.
And if you want to take a look or take a listen to the diets we're recommending, that we describe them in detail in the first
three or four
episodes. So please take a listen to those. And this is the main thrust of our podcast is what's good for your heart and health is also good for the planet.
Yeah. So I want to talk about my transition to veganism and my transition out of veganism as well, because I think it's important to be honest about that and be upfront about that.
Yeah.
So I started, and you might have some insight into how it was going vegetarian and how you found that as well. So
how long ago was it for you that you...
So it was just before COVID, I went vegan. I was watching, I've know I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but in case anyone hasn't been listening or is just joining us new, I was watching a program on RTE, which is channel in Ireland.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, RTE is a channel, isn't it?
A channel, yeah. I was going to say the program.
Yeah, but it's the actual program I was watching was about environmentalism. You're spot on. And it was a challenge between these families to see who could make the greatest environmental impact. I just got to mention there, while we have another guest on the podcast today, Charles's dog is here.
Luca.
So Luca, yeah. So if you hear unusual noises, it's not us. So yeah, as I was saying, I was watching this environmental program. It was between these families to see who could reduce their carbon footprint the most. And there was a guy talking about diets on it. And he said, going vegan is the single most impactful thing you can do to decrease your carbon footprint. So after that, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. I went vegan, and I was vegan for 4 years. I don't think I had enough.
Sorry, just to be clear.
Yeah.
They said that of all the things you can do, going vegan was the biggest thing
you can do
to reduce your carbon footprint.
Your carbon footprint,
amazing, isn't it?
And your impact on the environment, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So I went vegan. But I think I had some health issues at the same time. So that was difficult to know, because it is a bit, I'm not gonna make it sound like it's really, really easy to be vegan. It can be quite difficult to make sure that you're getting the amount of nutrients that you should be getting. So I probably was a little bit, B12 is a huge one for vegans. And because you don't get B12 in a vegan diet, so you have to supplement it easily. You can get it. You have to supplement it. There's a particular kind of yeast thing that my friend recommended to me, but I just wasn't getting enough B12, so I had to come off the vegan diet then after 4 years. So, but I did really enjoy it.
One thing you can do is quite simple, is to take a multivitamin. If you're
vegan. Yeah.
And in fact, I'd recommend it for people who are vegan to take a multivitamin. I take a multivitamin every day, even though I'm not. I'm lacto-vegetarian.
Yeah.
But, and the other thing for vegans is it can be difficult to get omega-3 with EPA and DHA.
So you're recommending multivitamins?
Absolutely. I think if you're vegan and even vegetarian, it's a good idea to take a multivitamin. I take Centrum every day. I'm over 50, so I take a Centrum over 50. It's a good multivitamin because it doesn't give excessive amounts of multivitamins. For most of them, it just gives the amount you need and nothing more. And the other thing that's helpful is it can be difficult for vegans to get enough omega-3, particularly what used to be called the marine type of omega-3, but that can be now obtained through algae. So the algae omega-3, 2 capsules a day, for example, of it depends on the dose in the capsules, but the one I take is called OptiU. And 2 capsules a day give you more than enough omega-3 containing the EPA and DHA, which is good for your brain and your heart.
Yeah. So you are vegetarian now?
I'm vegetarian for the past roughly 8 years. Since I had my heart episode, I changed. And I didn't think at that time I could become vegetarian. It was a big upheaval for me. Although I'd been vegetarian in the past for 14 years, I'd been eating meat for some time. But for the health reasons, I knew it made sense for my heart, especially then after reading Dr. Ornish and Dr. Assistin. I decided to make the change. And at first I went vegan. I did struggle with it. I found it too abrupt, a big change from taking dairy and meat every day to suddenly having neither. When I did stick strictly to it, though, I had the biggest reduction in my cholesterol level that I'd ever had in my life, the lowest cholesterol level. So it was very effective. But I decided on following the kind of middle way, or taking the middle ground of, I didn't want to go back to meat eating, but I'd grown up with dairy. Dr. Ornish in his book says that it allowed small amounts of skim milk and very low fat or zero fat dairy. So that was the option I decided to follow. And I've been very happy with that ever since. I think it wasn't such an extreme change because I could still have skim milk in my coffee and my tea. I take small amounts of low-fat cheese, the sliced cheese. The low-fat ones, they contain about 4.4 grams of fat per slice, which is quite small. So it's a very restricted amount of fat, and as I say, sticking to the low-fat or zero-fat options of dairy. But it meant that I very much enjoy coffee. As you know, I'm addicted to coffee. So I could still
you could
take
have
it
your
in
skim
the
milk
normal way.
in the coffee,
So I think it's for each person, it's important to find the middle ground that they can cope
That's
with.
too. So like for me, I do eat, like I eat chicken every now and again, but I do still eat a lot of vegan meals. Like my breakfast is always vegan. And so you can strike a balance that suits you. And like we're always saying on this podcast, it's not about getting everyone in the world to go vegan. That's not sustainable either.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But reduction, like meat reduction, is necessary actually.
And there's simple ways you can do it. And the first thing I did was I changed, even before I went, obviously before I went vegetarian, was I reduced meat to just once a day. Many people take meat for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and they might even have a ham sandwich as well. So it's very easy to slip into that pattern. But if you say, okay, I'm just going to eat meat in the evening, say with my dinner, and have a vegetarian lunch and breakfast, that's not difficult to do. And the other thing, as we've said before, you can choose to have one day vegetarian a week, like a meat-free Monday, or you can choose to have 2 or 3 vegetarian days. It's a whole spectrum of choices that you have.
Absolutely.
And they all produce benefits both in terms of your health and the environment.
Absolutely. And going back to that, just in terms of like the ethics behind the meat industry, you want to talk a bit about slaughterhouses?
I feel we should mention it because it's something that's unseen. As I say, meat comes packaged for the great majority of people in plastic in supermarkets, and we don't relate it to the animals that are being killed. So globally, the number of farm animals killed annually is staggering. In 2013 alone, 298 million cattle were slaughtered worldwide, 536 million lambs or sheep were killed, over 1.4 billion pigs, and 1 billion rabbits.
It's quite upsetting to hear, actually. That's like, those are huge numbers.
Yeah.
And I know it's probably upsetting to hear for our listeners as well, but I think this is the reality of the overconsumption of meat.
Yeah, we've kind of compartmentalized it and we don't think about it. And in the countryside, you see trucks loaded with animals going to the factory, as it's called euphemistically. But in cities, you don't see the animals at all, and you don't think of them. And actually, the number of chickens slaughtered is also mind-boggling. 61 billion chickens.
Oh my God.
And 2.8 billion ducks were slaughtered. And the frightening thing is the number of animals slaughtered per year is continually increasing to keep up with the increasing demand for meat. And just again, on a human level, recently I met a Brazilian man who was helping me with something, and he worked in a local meat factory, and he told me that every working day they killed approximately 3,000 pigs in the factory, and he regarded it as quite routine, whereas I felt horrified and I couldn't imagine working in that environment. In fact, I find pigs quite nice, inoffensive animals. But the scale of this, the slaughter is happening similarly every day in every region of the world, and we're just not aware of it. And also the animals, when we see animals in the field, we tend to think of them as being contented, eating grass and living normal lives. But they live desperately shortened lifespans, the animals on farms, and it's another thing that we don't realize. I read a book called Sapiens, describing the history of mankind, and in it he says the domestication of animals was founded on a series of brutal practices that only became crueler with the passing of the centuries. The natural lifespan of wild chickens is about 7 to 12 years, and that of cattle is about 20 to 25 years. In the wild, most chickens and cattle died long before that, but they still had a fair chance of living a respectable number of years. But in contrast, the vast majority of domesticated chickens and cattle are slaughtered at the age of between a few weeks and a few months. And because this has always been the optimal slaughtering age from an economic perspective. And to be more specific in relation to animals' lifespans, if you compare them to humans, they're killed in the equivalent of childhood, because beef cattle are slaughtered at an age between 1 and 2.5 years on average, whereas their natural lifespan is up to 20 years. Veal calves, which are cruelly force-fed, are usually slaughtered between 1 and 32 weeks, where again their normal lifespan would be up to 20 years. Lambs are slaughtered between 3 and 6 months, but their natural lifespan would be up to 12 years.
Yeah.
Similarly, pigs used for meat are slaughtered at 6 months, where their lifespan naturally would be up to 15 years. So you can see that the lives of these animals are cut short, and we don't realize that was where
I didn't know that at all.
In the countryside, and to see the animals in the fields. They're all very young animals. Even those animals who are allowed to live longer in animal agriculture, for example, milking cows and egg-laying hens, do not escape the suffering and premature death. Milking cows, after being kept permanently pregnant, are killed after about 5 years when they are spent. This is approximately 15 years before the end of their natural lifespan. And in the egg industry, all male chicks of the egg-laying hens are killed on their first day of life, so that only the egg-producing females are allowed to live. So about 7 billion newborn male chicks are killed annually in the egg industry. 7 billion. These facts reinforce the vegan argument that dairy and egg consumption are not victimless.
Absolutely. It's tough to listen to these kind of figures, but it is the reality, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, some people say, well, animals don't have feelings or emotions in the
Yeah,
same way that
absolutely.
humans have, or that they don't even feel pain.
Absolutely. But before we dive into that, we'll just take a little break now.
If you find what we've been saying in the podcast interesting, you can find a lot more information in my book called Save Your Heart, Lose Weight and Help Save the Planet, which is available on Amazon.
So before the break, we were talking about how most people think that perhaps animals don't have feelings or emotions, or some people might have that view. What's your take on that?
Well, I would say to those people that animals are not so distant from us as we may think. For example, our nearest animal relatives, the chimpanzee, has 98.8% of the same DNA as we have.
Yeah.
So it's remarkably similar. A cow shares 80% of our DNA.
Really?
Yeah. And an Abyssinian house cat has 90% of our DNA.
That's incredible.
So can it be said that we're really that different? You may hear dogs barking in the background, but anyone who owns a dog will see that they have many of the same emotions that we have. You'll see the dog is sad when we're about to leave the house, delighted when we return home, very affectionate at times, bored at other times. The same kind of emotions and feelings that we have. So I don't believe that these claims hold weight, that animals don't have emotions or feelings.
Absolutely. And you see different, speaking about dogs, you see different personalities in dogs.
Yeah.
Like, for example, our dog is very anxious, actually. Like, he kind of clings to you, do you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you could have a golden retriever the same as him and have a completely different personality.
Yeah. Next, just to mention about, I'm not going to go into great detail about this, but the how animals are slaughtered, and it's not a subject I want to really dwell on. But a number of people I've met in my life have told me that they became vegetarian after a single visit to a meat factory or slaughterhouse. They obviously found the experience very traumatizing, and even on being transported to the factory, animals undergo psychological stress and physical injury. Some die while they're being transported. And this is the only thing I won't go into the details of it, but in a slaughterhouse or meat factory, the screams of the animals that are being killed or about to be killed is very loud, between 76 and 100 decibels. And the sound level above which workers are recommended to wear hearing protection is anything above 80 decibels. So that the workers actually have to wear hearing protection because of this. And so I'll say no more about the meat factory. You can imagine that it's not a nice place. No. And in fact, even the slaughterhouse workers suffer increased rates of psychological distress and post-traumatic stress disorder due to the nature of their work.
Yeah.
And the fact that our increasing demand for meat is causing slaughter to have to increase all the time at a higher and higher level.
Yeah. And
I think that really is an indictment of humanity's insatiable, self-centered attitude.
Yeah.
That Mahatma Gandhi said, "Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed." And he also said, "The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated."
I love that. Yeah. I think that's really spot on.
Yeah. So at present, we live in a very, I'm afraid, although most of us don't realize it, we live in a very cruel world where 60% of the mass of animals, those that we use to feed ourselves, humans, live pitifully short and frequently miserable lives to gratify the desires of the 36% of mammals called humans. while the remaining 4%, called wildlife, cling on to existence now threatened with extinction in ever decreasing areas of natural habitat. And at that, we're going to end the upsetting part of and we're going to talk about a bit more about climate change and actually how we're unfortunately losing the battle for climate change. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, produced its 6th assessment report in 2022, and in its summary for policymakers, it states, there is at least a greater than 50% likelihood that global warming will reach or exceed 1.5 degrees centigrade in the near term between 2021 and 2040. So, in other words, they're saying that it's not a possibility of exceeding that.
It's just
critical
a reality,
target.
yeah.
It's a probability.
Yeah.
And even in the predictions of reducing greenhouse gases to a low level, which we are not. And it goes on to say that the risks in the near term between 2021 and 2040, global warming reaching 1.5 degrees centigrade increase in the near term would cause unavoidable increases in multiple climate hazards and present multiple risks to ecosystems and humans. And that there was a very high confidence in that probability. And it went on to, I don't sound like a doom monger, but this
I
is
think
the
it
reality.
is the reality of the situation, though, and people aren't aware of it or how they can act to change the outcome.
And that's the important thing. We can act. It's not too late to act, and we can change things. But if we don't, it described catastrophic changes to the planet for humans, animals, ecosystems of biblical proportions if we don't change our present course. And the level of the threat and urgency of the situation was brought home by Antonio Guterres, the United Nations Secretary General, when he addressed the UN Climate Conference COP27 at the high-level opening in Egypt in November 22. And just to quote from what he said, and I'm full of admiration for this man. In just days, our planet's population will cross a new threshold. The 8th billionth member of our human family will be born. This milestone puts into perspective what this climate conference is all about. How will we answer when baby 8 million is old enough to ask, what did you do for our world and our planet when you had the chance? This UN climate conference is a reminder that the answer is in our hands and the clock is ticking. We are in the fight of our lives and we are losing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep growing and global temperatures keep rising. And our planet is fast approaching tipping points that will make climate chaos irreversible. We are on a highway to climate hell with our foot still on the accelerator. And he also said, Antonio Guterres, we need all hands on deck for faster, bolder climate action. A window of opportunity remains open, but only a narrow shaft of light remains. We are getting dangerously close to the point of no return. The global climate fight will be won or lost in this crucial decade. On our watch, one thing is certain, that those that give up are sure to lose. So let's fight together and let's win.
That's very powerful stuff, isn't it?
It's moving.
It's moving, yeah. So maybe we could give our listeners just a few examples of things that you can do to improve our situation. So one obvious one from this podcast is reducing meat consumption.
Yeah, what you eat. And the main thing, reduce the amount of meat, even if it's only by having a vegetarian day once a week, or just saying that from now on only my dinners will have meat. Just reduce in whatever way you can. The other things, and we know this as well from our membership of Irish Doctors for the Environment, there's very many other things we can do. We use public transport.
And active travel.
Yes, active travel, bicycles and
walking.
Walking, yeah. And as far if you have a car, go electric or hybrid, or think of it for your next car. You can also get biodiesel, green diesel, which has up to 90% less carbon dioxide emissions.
Oh, wow.
And you don't need to convert. If you have a diesel car, it doesn't need conversion to use.
Okay, yeah.
It's called hydroactive vegetable oil.
Yeah.
Then the other things we can do is think about how we're heating the houses, how we're insulating them.
Yeah.
You can use heat pumps, say, instead of oil central heating. Get your roof properly lagged.
Yeah.
This saves a tremendous amount of energy.
Solar panels as well, and wind turbines.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think a big one as well is voting, voting for politicians that will make these changes.
Parties that are promising to.
Yeah.
The Green Party were in coalition in government in this country for a few years, and they made a very big difference.
Yeah.
And the policies they introduced, like solar panels on the roofs of houses, many people have adopted that because they made policies that encourage people to do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we need, as you say, a lot more wind power, a lot more wind turbines, and the sea. That you can have wind turbines at sea, and you can also harness currents to make energy.
Absolutely,
So
and I think
things.
I think another underrated thing is talking about it.
Yeah,
Literally just having conversations with people.
yeah.
Because the more you talk about it, the more the attitude changes and the culture changes.
Yeah.
So I think just being brave and being outspoken about how you feel about this climate emergency is a huge part of it as well.
And as you've said before, join climate action groups, and you don't feel so alone. There's a group then with a shared purpose. That's great.
So we're just going to take a quick break now, but when we get back to you, we will do the recipe of the week. What is the recipe of the week this week, Jones?
It's creamy red lentil and barley stew.
Delicious. Okay, we'll see you in a bit.
Okay. Okay, so this is a vegan recipe this week, and it serves 4 people, creamy red lentil and barley stew. So let's get straight to the ingredients. First of all, it's 150 grams of pearl barley, 200 grams of red lentils, 1 onion diced, 2 carrots diced, 2 celery stalks diced, 3 cloves of garlic minced, 1 tablespoon of grated fresh ginger. There's a lot of ginger in this recipe.
Nice.
400 grams of chopped tomatoes, 800 milliliters of vegetable stock. You can get very nice vegetable stock cubes in health food stores, or you can just use like Knorr vegetable stock or one of the commonly available ones. 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of turmeric, some black pepper, the juice of half a lemon, and a large handful of chopped parsley. So the method, cook the barley until it's almost tender. Meanwhile, while you're doing that, saute the onions, celery, and carrot in a few tablespoons of water until it softens. So again, instead of using oil to cook it, we're actually cooking it in a small amount of water, which obviously lowers the fat content. Then you add the garlic, the ginger, and the spices. Then stir in your tomatoes, the stock, the lentils, and the barley, and then simmer it a further 20 minutes and finish off with some lemon juice and garnish with parsley. And that's it. It has less than 7% of the calories that come from fat. The protein content is about 24%, so that's good due to the lentils.
That's great.
And the carbohydrates are complex carbohydrates, a healthy kind. It won't put on weight. So it's a good, healthy dish.
Sounds absolutely delicious. Yeah, I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah. So that's it for this episode. Just before we go, just to mention again that if you find what we've been talking about interesting, you'll find a lot more details in my book called Save Your Heart, Lose Weight and Help Save the Planet, which is available on Amazon as a paperback and on Kindle. And that's it from me.
Yeah, and if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And that's Your Heart, Our Planet. So goodbye from me as well, guys. Bye.